Bacon TV, the show that's all about how to make your life better. My name is Megan, and I am your host, and I've got your prescription for happiness and your cure for the common life. So we're going to add some spice and some sizzle and some laughter to your day. So let's go. Woohoo! Welcome to Bacon TV. I am freaking excited today. Today's guest is someone I have been following and learning from for many years now. And frankly, I'm a little starstruck. I admit, I cannot believe that he's here on my show. Please welcome Neil Gordon. Yay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Megan. Delighted to be here.
Oh, seriously, ever since I started this show, I knew that I wanted to someday have you as a guest. So this is a true honor because did you know that this show actually wouldn't even exist if it weren't for you?
Oh. I didn't actually know that. Oh my God.
And it didn't really dawn on me until I was thinking about having you as a guest and, introducing you, but I can actually trace back the steps and they lead to you. And I am not sure if you realize the influence that you have had on me, and I'm sure that you have had on countless others. And so that has to feel pretty darn good.
Well, honestly, Megan, I feel a little verklempt right now.
Well, I love your...
Give me a moment here.
Listen, all right, you guys, let me tell you a little bit about Neil Gordon and why I am so freaking excited. So I first came across Neil's stuff on the internet, and I was about to give a presentation, and you had some teaser post out there. It said something like, you should never start your speech with this. And so I watched it, and it made me completely change my presentation. And so,
wow.
Yeah, people, that's what Neil does. He is a communications expert, and he helps people and executives and influencers and thought leaders to be better presenters. And to be able to, you help people like double their speaking fees and land six-figure book deals and be on shows like Ellen and Dr. Oz. And then you yourself have been on Forbes and Fortune and Inc.com and NBC Palm Springs. And then you're also a VIP contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine. And I have read so many of your articles and seen you on dozens of podcasts and other shows. And I am so thrilled now to have Bacon TV added to your list of appearances.
I'm not only can't wait for our episode today, but I also look forward to putting it up on the page and all of that, because people are like, Bacon TV? And they're all going to be like, click.
What's that? Yeah. Tell me, is this the first game show that you've been on?
This is the very first game show that I've been on.
Ooh, right. All right. So now I got a first for you. So, Neil, since Life Bacon is all about helping people take their life to the next level and finding their sizzle, I wanted to ask you this question. So, what is the impact that you want to have? Like, what is your legacy? What is your sizzle that you want to leave people with?
What would make me happier than anything, Megan, is to eliminate as much demagoguery in our world as possible, as in people weaponizing their words to manipulate large groups of people to get what they want, as opposed to looking at communication as an act of service and leading not with judgment, but curiosity, to really use communication as a way to foster more meaningful and productive connection than manipulating people to our own end.
Wow, I love that. And I would say that you are well on your way to leaving that legacy, and just in the impact that you've had on me, because, again, people, this is what life is all about. It's those small little actions, those little words that we use on a daily basis that impact other people. And then from that, what they then turn around and go do and create this ripple effect that creates massive change. So that's what Life Bacon is all about. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
I just want to let people know, I want to make sure that our audience realizes today, if you think that this show is about being a speaker or writing a book, or if those aren't things on your list and you may not think that this episode is for you, I just want you to reiterate how this can apply to you. Because like I said, Neil is a communications expert, and communication is perhaps one of the biggest reasons that relationships fail, or that coworkers don't get along, or that jobs aren't, or raises aren't offered. And maybe you miss opportunities when you don't know how to communicate effectively. And so communication is huge. And also, it's all about who you know. And so networking is super important. And at this very moment, and I had mentioned this to Neil before we started recording, you're my first interview in Idaho. I'm in Boise now. So you're my first contestant. But we have no family here. My husband and I both started new careers. And so we're meeting a lot of new people. And what's the most common question? What do you do? And so when you talk about elevator pitches and mistakes that speakers make and silver bullets, I mean, these are nuggets, people, that all can be applied to your life and your work in very impactful ways. So super excited. We're going to play a brand new game today on Bacon TV. It is time for the Family Feud. Introducing the Neil Gordon family, playing with everyone else. Okay, so what do you think so far?
I'm blown away by the graphic effects.
Isn't the music awesome? It just takes me back about, oh God, I almost said 20 years, but it's probably a lot more than that.
More than that, yeah. At least if we're going back to Richard Dawson making out with everyone.
That's right. Okay, all right. So we have you at the podium, and we've got our audience at home. So I am going to read the question and buzz in as soon as you know the answer. Hundreds of thousands of people have been surveyed and been part of a board checked out audience to unassuming presenters. Now the top 5 answers are on the board. Name one of the top mistakes made by public speakers.
Hey, I'm going to go with that speakers start with visiting. As in, as soon as they get out on stage, they say, "Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to be here."
Start with visiting. Let's see if it's up there. It is. It's the number 2 answer. So what do you mean by that? The dollar values are tripled, by the way. You're earning
I saw the
triple
triple.
dollars.
I'm celebrating 3 times as much on the inside.
Oh yeah, we go straight for the big money here on Bacon TV.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but all of my guests are required to provide their own prize money. So I hope you're prepared for that.
I just gave myself 78 pesos.
Congrats. Okay, so tell us, so what is that? Start with visiting. That is so common, like when you get invited to a stage. Thanks for having me. Is that what you're talking about? What's wrong with
That's
that?
what I'm talking about. And that's also what you mentioned in the intro of the thing that you saw online that helped you so much What
That's right.
speakers usually do is they say, "Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to be here." And oh, isn't so and so who just introduced me great? How about a nice round of applause for so and so? And people think that the audience is going to like them more, or they're going to be more of their ally if they ingratiate themselves to them. And it's just not true. The beginning of a talk or a speech is like the start of a race, where when you're at the start of a race, it's sort of like on your mark, get set, and then there's all this tension before they say go or the gun goes off or whatever it is, right? And the start of a speech is sort of like that. It's like the most tension is right before it starts because nothing has happened yet. And so any number of possibilities are showing up in the audience's mind. What's this going to be? Is this going to be good? Is this going to be awful? Who knows?
Yeah.
And so most speakers squander that. They smooth out the tension. Oh, it's so nice to be here. But what if instead of doing that, you just went out on stage and you just started with a story? Like a client of mine started her talk with, a longtime friend of mine didn't know what to do, and tells the story of her friend in crisis. And you could start with an amazing outcome right away. I looked down at the screen and saw I had just made $3,000 in a single day.
That is so much more, yeah, like attention grabbing.
Right, right. You really ride the wave of that tension, and then that makes people lean in, and then they're actually with you, can actually hear the next thing you say and the thing after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're right. When I was about to give my presentation and I completely changed that and I went out and just started bam right with a story and very effective. So cool. I do that with all my presentations now. Just dive right in.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So you have control of the board. You want to pass or play?
Oh, I'm gonna play, Megan.
Okay. What do you think another answer might be? Top 5 answers, 4 are left up there.
All right, I'm gonna go, Megan, with using ums and uhs, like vocalized pauses and you knows and stuff like that.
Oh, yes, the dreaded ums and uhs. Okay, ums and uhs, is it up there?
Oh, oh
What? What's with that? I thought that was like, yeah, Toastmaster says, ding, ding, you should never say that.
you should never have ums and uhs. Right. Okay. I'd like to point to one of the top TED Talks of all time by Amy Cuddy on how your body language shapes who you are. And I think it was just dethroned from the new number 2 place with a comedy routine, which I don't even count as a TED Talk, frankly. So let's say, for all intents and purposes, the number 2 TED Talk of all time by Amy Cuddy. And she's got like 14 vocalized pauses in the first minute of her talk. And yet she got like 50, 60 million views or something like that.
Wow.
So clearly, there's a lot of emphasis, like you said, with Toastmasters and all of that, in eliminating ums and uhs and all kinds of vocalized pauses. But the simple truth is that if you have a compelling message, if you tell great stories, if you have other really amazing things going for you as a speaker, then that's not something you need to stress nearly as much. The most important thing is to have a message that helps your audience. And
Thank
these other
goodness.
things are cosmetic.
Yeah, I say all the time. So thank goodness. Thank goodness that's not as important as the message. I agree with that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so you got buzzed on that, but you still have control of the board. So what do you
Okay.
think? There's 4 answers still up there.
All right. I'm going to go with describing the talk or presentation, as in preparing the audience for everything that I'm about to talk about
Oh
throughout the
yes.
presentation.
I know what you're talking about. Here's the agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about this. All right, let's see if it's up there. Giving the whole agenda. Describing the talk. Yeah. Why do
Okay,
people do that?
so you get up there. I actually once spoke at a nonprofit conference where I was required to provide learning objectives, as in all the things I was going to cover, because as the creator of the conference said, she wanted everyone to know they were in the right room when they went to that particular presentation. So I found a workaround there, but the larger point I want to make, Megan, is that, again, similar to the squandered opportunity with the first few seconds of the talk, there's also a squandered opportunity toward the beginning of the presentation or talk to create anticipation. And when you describe everything that they're about to hear, you're basically eliminating all mystery, all intrigue, all anticipation of what's going to happen next. Mystery is an incredibly powerful tool in keeping people on the edge of their seats and, frankly, keeping them from picking up their phones. If you promise them something awesome, but don't yet tell them what that awesome thing is, they'll be like, well, what about the awesome thing? What is it? What's going to happen next? I mean, you think about it another way, the Avengers movies, right? The Infinity War and Endgame two-parter thing. Endgame broke every box office record there was and made over $2 billion at the box office.
Whoa.
At the end of Infinity War, there was this huge cliffhanger. And so between watching the movies and renting it and streaming it on video and all of that, there were millions of people dying to see what happens to these characters after this cliffhanger. And so it shattered all the records. But if they said, here's what's going to happen in Endgame and provide all of it up front, how much box office tally are they going to get? Not much.
Right. No mystery. Yeah, we like a little mystery. And you know, you're very good at that because I get all your emails and you will tease something in there and say, click here to find out. Every time I'm clicking on that darn link, even if I don't have time, I'm like, oh, look at this later. But there's something about the way you word it. So I guess if you're not giving the agenda, then should you be giving some little teaser or kind of like creating that anticipation?
Right. Like if we go with the first tip with starting the talk with a story, you
Yeah.
could describe an amazing outcome, like the $3,000 in one day kind of thing, right? And you could describe this amazing outcome, but how did we get that? Or how did she get that? Or how did I get that?
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to talk about today. Simple as that.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Well, you still have control of the board here. So there are three answers left. What? You have one strike.
All right. All right. Well, hopefully this one will also work. This is hopefully another mistake that public speakers make. Crossing fingers here. Okay. Getting up there and telling my whole life story as part of the talk, basically a whole arc of how I grew up and where I wound up today.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Is it up there telling the whole story? Yes. Well, we want to know a story, don't we? But not the whole story. So explain us, please.
We all have heard how powerful stories are.
Yeah.
So you might think, Neil, what do you mean don't tell your story? What's that about? I'd like to point to a very popular TEDx talk with tens of millions of views by a man named Sean Aker. I believe the title is The Happy Secret to Better Work. And at the start of the talk, he doesn't talk about growing up in a certain neighborhood in a certain state and having certain kinds of family members and where he went to college and all of that. What he does is he tells the story of when he was about 7 or 8, I believe, and his little sister was 5, and they were playing in one of the bedrooms with the bunk beds, and his little sister fell out of the bunk bed and landed on the floor on her hands and knees. And he says to himself, this is bad. If she starts crying, I'm going to get in trouble for not taking better care of my sister. So he jumps down and gets on the floor next to her. He says, you know what this means, that you landed on all fours? It means that you're a unicorn. And she gets up and just like, it's fine after that. And they continue playing. Crisis averted, right? So I want everyone to notice the significance of that story. Did he tell everything about his life as a child? No. He told a specific story, a certain scene of something that happened at a very particular point in time. And that's the mistake, is that people do these huge sweeping narratives of their whole life, But the thing that's really going to draw an audience in is to tell specific moments
Right.
from our lives, so as to paint that picture so that people see the person on all fours on the floor about to cry, so to speak, or like
Yes.
looking at the screen and seeing the $3,000 and being totally gobsmacked in that moment. That's what we want. We want these rich moments of dialogue, of emotions, of moments that we feel one way or another about.
It's so much more relatable. I totally get what you're saying. And I think that same theory or that same concept should be applied like when you're doing an interview. Because I mean, when you're asked questions about, describe yourself or why you'd be good for this job, and you say, oh, well, I'm successful or and I'm a proven history. But if they say you need to provide specific examples, like I sold $2 million of these tchotchkes last year, you got to be specific. And that's a lot more compelling than just these general statements. Good
Exactly.
tip. All right, so there are just two answers left up there. You've got one strike. You have control of the board here. What would you like to do?
All right, Megan. Well, I would say another mistake that a lot of speakers make is using slides.
Ooh, yes. We hate slides, don't we? All right, do we hate slides? What?
Oh,
How is that? I hear that so many times. And I actually still use PowerPoint, but I get made fun of a lot. So what's the deal?
there are a lot of people out there who believe that slides are the worst thing when it comes to presentations. And they say, oh, well, they're not there to read your slides. They're there to listen to you and all of that. And I fully agree that no one is there for slides. But if slides are used in an ideal way, they could actually be really powerful for just keeping the audience engaged and step by step going through your stuff. Actually, I mentioned the number two, technically the number two thing on the TED website is not a talk, it's a comedy routine, but it still points us to a really interesting tip where the the speaker was telling stories about his emails, and he would just do a little, like a few words at a time or a word at a time or something like that. And so the slides were just a great visual for capturing exactly what he's talking about. So I like to say that the only hard and fast rule, Megan, of communications is that there are no hard and fast rules. And so to dogmatically eliminate slides across the board is possibly going to sell yourself short. You might have opportunities that you haven't thought of.
Well, that's another relief for me then, because I do use slides partly for my own, like to keep me. I'm kind of like squirrel, I can be easily distracted. And so it keeps me on pace and on my message, but also some people I think are visual learners. I use a lot of pictures and stuff in mine, or just visual or funny little videos and clips and things that just I don't know, can tell the message in a way other than words, but
That's
who
the thing.
knows?
There are lots of different ways to learn and lots of different ways to engage the audience. And so the larger point I want to make is that there might be good situations for slides, circumstances that incorporate them. And if that's the case, then I fully encourage folks to experiment with that.
Well, I am a little bit worried for you at this point in the game because you have two strikes and
Oh,
there are still two answers left up there. Two strikes, Neil Gordon. What are you going to do?
all right. I'm going to give my next answer. And we've been on the slide kick already. So I'm going to say another mistake that speakers make is having really busy slides with lots of bullet points and words on it.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I might have to agree with you on that. Those are the slides I can't stand, where the print is like this big and you can't even see it. All right, is it up there? Busy slides. Yay! Nice job. Good answer. Anything you want to expand on that?
People are so down on slides, not because of the existence of slides, but because of how the slides are executed. And I've been to so many presentations, Megan, where the speaker is going on about something and then they put on a slide and there's just tons and tons of content. And here's the problem with that. When they have the content all in front of them on the slide, all these things to read, what happens to the audience member? They have to decide whether to listen to the speaker or read what's in front of them.
Yep.
And so you've got all this friction, which bogs them down and makes them tune out in general, or they might just not be listening to something important that the speaker is saying. I've even seen speakers who have these busy slides and say, oh, you don't need to read any of that. All right, let's just go past it. So why do they have it in the deck to continue?
Right.
You want to write a bunch of stuff, then write a Word document and send that to people over email. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
not necessary. In fact, it's hurtful. And so instead, just have a few words, have a phrase, have
Yeah.
a specific thing that you repeat as you're saying it. And so the visual just reinforces the learning. And you were talking about visual learners and stuff just a moment ago. It reinforces what you're saying rather than distracts from it.
Yeah, have it support what you're saying, because I've also heard speakers have a slide behind them and it seems like it has nothing to do with what they're saying. And
Right.
so that's where then my attention goes. I'm trying to connect the dots and figure out, well, wait a minute, what does this mean? And then you're asking the person next to you and yeah, you've just lost all attention from your audience.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
answer. All right. Well, now this is like the bottom of the ninth. You got 2 strikes. There's 1 answer left, and it happens to be the number 1 answer. So,
Huh.
do you know?
Well, if I have to think about it, Megan, I'm going to go with the answer of what we might call the show up and throw up. As in
Oh,
just getting up on stage and I have all this lifetime of knowledge going on in my head and I'm going to vomit it out of my mouth. And so that by the end of my talk, the audience knows pretty much everything I've ever learned about everything ever.
all right. Boy, that is a great answer. And that is one I have been in an audience before when this has happened, and it is no fun. Okay, so let's see. Is it up there? The show up and throw up. Yes! Congratulations!
Thank you. Thank you. It's almost as if I knew what the answers were going to be.
You're so good at this. It's like you're an expert or something. Yeah. Well, so what can you tell us about that? Because I know people that have so much information, and I know I've been guilty of this too. I just want to give so much value or give so much information. I want people to walk away just feeling like, wow. But tell us, what's the mistake of that and what should we do instead?
What most people falsely believe is that the value of their talk is going to be defined by how much content they provide, how much information, how many actionable tips, and all of that. And even if you're at a conference and the conference organizers like, we just want to make sure they get some tips and stuff and all of that. The reason why everyone is so tip loving or whatever we call that is that people don't actually believe most talks can really provide some meaningful, substantive value. But when someone goes to a conference, they're not there for your tips, your information. They're there for change. And the thing that empowers people to create that change in their lives is the belief that that change is possible. So rather than do the show up and throw up and cram as much content into your talk as you can, let's play on that Avengers Infinity War Endgame analogy a bit. More like a build up to a really powerful moment, a climactic moment in your talk where there's been anticipation, you planted mysteries, and then you deliver this mic dropping moment where you just give everyone this epiphanous kind of light bulb kind of moment where it's like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, I could totally see how that works. And the way we achieve that is through something I call a silver bullet, which is this one sentence recipe, this secret sauce like statement that encapsulates all of your knowledge in this one sentence. And it's this technique that's been around for thousands of years, but it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
And it's so brilliant. And it's so, it's like one of those commonly uncommon things.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
teach a lot about the silver bullet.
Yeah.
So, so what should people do? Are you gonna tell us more? Or is that the cliffhanger?
No, no,
We
no.
have to.
What I can do is I can point to some of these kind of ancient silver bullets and other examples as well, maybe to demonstrate how there's this pattern in these kinds of sentences. And so Sun Tzu from The Art of War, line 18 of the first chapter of The Art of War, it's been around for 2,500 years. He says all of warfare is deception. If you want to win a war, then deceive your opponent. It's one sentence, but he encapsulates the whole recipe for success at warfare. Okay, and then I might screw up I might have to paraphrase the Aristotle one. I always struggle with this one a little bit, where he says the aim of art is not its outward appearance, but rather its inward significance. Actually, that's exactly what it says. Yeah, so I didn't have to paraphrase.
Beautiful.
And then there are books like Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. It's a New York Times bestselling book by the creator of Pixar, the founder of Pixar. And he wrote a book a handful of years ago on how they created the culture at Pixar that they did that leads to such commercially successful, but also critically successful featured films. And he says, about a quarter of the way into the book, he says, getting the team right is a necessary precursor to getting the ideas right. And when you read that on the Kindle, you get all of these like highlights when it aggregates all the highlights of the most popular passages in the book. And that one has like 9,000 highlights the last time
Wow.
like all these people. So he said, getting the team right is a necessary precursor to getting the ideas right. And his co-author even highlighted that himself. He said, that's worth repeating. Let's say this again. And it's because it's this one sentence recipe for everything else that makes Pixar work.
Brilliant. I love it. So the silver bullet, and I know you do teach a lot about this, and so people can find out more when in a moment I'm gonna ask you to share some more about what you've got going on. But since you cleared that board of Family Feud, you get to go to the bonus round, mister.
Ooh.
And guess what? I know that one of your favorite shows growing up was Jeopardy.
Right. That's
So
right.
you are going to play Final Jeopardy.
Whoa.
This is Jeopardy!
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to show you the category, and then you're going to have to write down how much you're going to risk. I am going to give you a hint of what the category will be, and some of you Jeopardy junkies out there might recognize this one. What is it? The category is Potent Notables.
So this is a bit of an inside joke with Jeopardy fans in that, and you might, if you watch the Celebrity Jeopardy parodies with Will Ferrell, you always see the category potent potables, which is basically alcohol. But for whatever, and that's a real thing. Like the real Jeopardy would always have that category for some reason over the years, and SNL picked up on that. So potent notables.
Potent Notables, that's the category. All right, so how much are you going to risk? You will need to write it down now, please. Okay, so now we are going to reveal the answer, and you will have to tell us what the question is, Neil. That's how Final Jeopardy works. So here we go. And by the way, even though you only won $300 in the Family Feud, we are going for $1 million right now, because that's how we do it on Bacon TV.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right, here we go. The answer, or wait, the question. Wait, it's the answer, right?
Yeah.
The answer is this expert's TED Talk on the puzzle of motivation is Neil's favorite example of a silver bullet. Neil, if you can't figure this one out, I mean, we're in trouble. Since this is your favorite. I mean, if you don't know, do you have an answer for us? Or what is the question?
Yeah. Framed in the form of a question, yes.
Yes.
Who is Dan Pink?
Yes, that is correct. But who in the world is Dan Pink? Can you please expand on this question?
Dan Pink is one of the most popular TED speakers of all time, with tens of millions of views on his talk, The Puzzle of Motivation. And what he basically does is frame his silver bullet, but not just crying it from the rooftops. He delivers it about 2/3 of the way into the talk after having created context for it. In fact, he even creates anticipation. He keeps saying there's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does. And he says that he talks about that mismatch several times before finally revealing that the secret to high performance is not rewards and punishments, but that unseen intrinsic drive to do things because they matter.
Whoa, drop the mic.
Drop the mic indeed. That's his silver bullet.
Yeah.
It's a great example of a silver bullet, but it also is a great example of when to use one in the talk.
Yeah. Fantastic. So powerful. And it's such a, like, if you apply these simple things to your talk or your presentation, it just makes such a difference. You have such impact and such a different level of engagement and response too, right? Because isn't that part of it? It's like what we want to compel the audience to do as a result of our talk. I've heard you talk about that before.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Beautiful. All right. So now we're dying to know, speaking of suspense, how much did you risk?
I risked
Oh.
$1 million. Not really coming out of there, is it?
There it is. There it is.
$1 million.
Yes, 1 million. All right, 1 million of your own dollars. Congratulations. I love it.
Celebration scream. I could get up and jump around and stuff, but then where are we going to be with the virtual background, right?
Right. Neil Gordon, you just won $1 million. So this is a perfect time for you to share with the audience. You can tell us what you plan to do with that $1 million, or you can just tell us how can people find you, because you just shared a lot of really great tips and information. So what have you got going on? How can people get more of Neil Gordon?
Well, why don't we say that I will take all million of these dollars and put it toward getting everyone to take my speaker quiz. And so what you might be wondering, like with the first tip around starting that talk with something really compelling, what are you supposed to say? And so the cool thing about this speaker quiz is it identifies one of 5 speaker personality types you have, that you might have, and then how to frame that in opening moment in a way that's truly aligned with your personality. You might not be big and theatrical like I am, but you might have a more subdued presence, for example. And so there's a speaker type for that. And then the video that comes with the quiz will show you exactly what you can do to be super compelling as soon as you start speaking.
And I love it. I love stuff like that. It's kind of like a little personality test. The other thing that I will say too, for anybody that's tuning into this show, you don't have to be a professional speaker. I said that at the beginning. I mean, in my previous job, I wasn't a speaker, but I had to present information to clients a lot. We would have, national meetings, and I'd have to present something to our group. We find ourselves in circumstances all the time where you end up in front of a room or even in front of a couple people having to present information. And so all of this stuff, all of these tips that Neil is sharing are so valuable and so golden and can be applied in so many ways. So check them out for sure.
You can find the quiz and me at neilcanhelp.com, NEIL, and you can go right to the quiz at neilcanhelp.com/quiz if you want to cut to the chase there.
Great. And then I'm sure your website has all kinds of additional information on what you do and where people can find you. And sign up for his emails. I love your emails. So if you, yeah, I do. Just a lot of great information. And what I love about you is you respond when I write you back. And the other thing is that it's like it's a very it's not a pushy thing at all. You just have such an endearing and friendly way of communicating with people. And I think that's part of your expertise as a communication expert, is just making people feel, I felt like I knew you before we even, became friends. And I do consider you my friend. So
appreciate that.
Thank you again for coming on the show. But you might change your mind, because in a moment, I'm about to throw you into the frying pan. This is the time of the show where we turn the tables. So, I have here my magic paper that
disappears.
My disappearing paper. Yes. I have here my frying pan questions. So this is the point of the show where the audience can play along, and we can also get to know our friend Neil a little bit more. Based on your answers, you have 30 seconds to say the first thing that comes to your brain. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go. If your 5-year-old self magically took over yourself of today, what is the first thing you would go do?
I would run down a slip and slide.
I'd like to see you do that now. Okay. If you could be part of any band for one night, what band would it be and what instrument would you play?
I would be a part of the Guess Who, and I would probably wail on the lead guitar.
Yes!
Yeah.
I can see it. All right, how about this one? What is the strangest food combination you love to eat?
Strangest food combination. I would have to say, ooh, God, that's tough. I don't even know if I know strange food combinations, but I think that I've been known to put olive oil on, like, in my snack, like my snack dessert ball things, like that have like honey in them and stuff like that. And I don't know. I was experimenting. Well, I don't like to eat. It's just something I tried because I was like trying to find the right consistency for the recipe, which no longer has olive oil nor honey anymore. So,
well, wait, what are these dessert balls?
You take nut butter and green powder and nutritional yeast and a sweetener like erythritol or monk fruit sweetener, and you roll it up into a ball and you roll it in shredded coconut and you put it in the fridge, and they're just great, really healthy, sugar-free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to include that in my next bacon bits. I always like to provide fun little yummy healthy recipes.
Yeah.
You talk about it like everyone knows what these are. You know, those dessert balls.
I quit sugar recently. I quit sugar recently, so I've been trying to find my sweet
Oh,
fix.
yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if I could do it. All right. Okay. If you were held at gunpoint and told that if you didn't impress them with your dance moves, you would be killed, what dance moves would you bust out?
I would do the disco line dance from the Night Fever song in Saturday Night Fever.
Let's see it.
I'm sitting down, so
I love it. Who would have thought? Ladies and gentlemen, I got Neil Gordon to dance twice on my show today. I love it. Okay, we're still in the frying pan. Okay, which of the 7 dwarves is most like you?
When I was 15, my father gave me a hat from the Disney store as a joke, and it was the Grumpy hat.
Oh, you must be grumpy.
Well, I mean, put it this way, if you had to find one of the dwarfs as soon as I wake up in the morning, you wouldn't find any other hat than that one.
Gotcha. All right, noted. Okay, if you had to spend $10,000 today, how would you do it?
I would spend it on
Something for you.
something for me.
Yeah.
I would probably go on a round the world trip, including, and so I hit all five. I don't care about Antarctica, but I'll go on to all 5 of the continents.
Oh, sorry,
Other than-
Antarcticans.
It's ice, and it's all melting. It's just going to depress me. So no, I'm not going there.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, travel. I think that's what I would do too. Okay, and the last question. Tell a joke that you know by heart.
All right. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting Scottish cow.
Interrupting Scottish cow.
It's a freaking rule, isn't it?
You just wanted to do your Scottish accent.
That's right, I did. Well, so everyone knows, Megan, I'm not this clever. Megan told me before this that I was going to have to tell a joke at the end. And so I was like, well, I don't know any jokes. And so I just took an existing joke and forced my ridiculous Scottish accent into it. So
I love it. Love it. That was
that's
great.
my sizzle within.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Neil, I cannot believe how much fun this has been. I really enjoyed our time together today, and I hope, oh, thank you. I hope that everyone got some great nuggets out of this. I mean, you just have all kinds of little bombs that you like to drop, and so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all that information with us today.
Well, it's been an absolute delight, Megan. Thank you very, very much for having me.
All right, everybody. Well, don't forget to check out neilcanhelp.com, take your speaker quiz, and keep watching Bacon TV. See you next time. Thanks for joining.